Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day's going lovely. I'm so glad you're joining me. Well, today we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to be creating a focal point with some rub-ons. These were so cute. These are from Spellbinders and they're called Little Leaps. There's two 6x8 sheets of rub-ons in here, and I love frogs because they just make me happy. But this little guy was so sweet. So we're going to make a fun card using this, and I thought Hope Your Day is Riveting was so cute. Let me show you both sheets that are in here. Well, you can see here. Let me pull them out. So we're going to do a card with rub-ons in 5 easy steps. Spellbinders has another set too called with Spring Blessings, which was really pretty. There's some religious crosses for Easter. And look how pretty that one is. And for spring, I just think this is really pretty. But we're just going to be creating a card with this one today. But you could very easily switch out maybe the cross here for what I'm doing today. Or even the little bunny would be cute. I'm going to be using this small guy, so you'd probably want a small image. But look how fun these are. Don't you? I just love rub-ons. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started with our step number 1. And we're going to create our focal image, which is this guy. All we're going to do is, this is how I like to use rub-ons. I trim them out with my scissors. I'm going to trim out the greeting too. And I keep the backing on here. Trim it down as much as I can. Okay, and then there's a little popsicle stick in the pack. We're going to rub this guy on a piece of cardstock that I'm going to die cut out with one of my fresh picked labels. We're going to do a little nesting frame today, and I think this is going to be really pretty. I haven't used these in a while. Let's see, we're going to use maybe this size. I'm going to create a frame around here, but I think this one is going to work out great. So the die that I'm using, if you have this set, is the 5th from the largest. Okay, I'm going to cut this out with a piece of white cardstock, and I'll be right back. Carefully, I'll remove the backing off of my rub-on. I'm going to make sure this little guy is centered, and I think he looks pretty centered. Just making sure that he's straight. Lovely. And then I will press it down. Press it. And then I'm going to go over my little froggy with my popsicle stick. The flowers in here are really pretty. In fact, we're going to die cut out some flowers to go with our focal point with a die set from Spellbinders. I'll show you that in just a minute. I'm going to actually use the Little Blooms die set because one of the flowers in here looks really similar, and I thought it would go really good on the top. Okay. I like to slowly pull forward and hold one side of the rub-on with one hand, because if I have to replace it, then I know it's still in its place. But I think we did good. And I just think he is so sweet. Isn't he so sweet? I just think he's adorable. Okay, so that's part of my focal point. The next part of my focal point, we're going to be using, again, the Little Blooms. And I'm going to cut out some foliage and some flower centers. And I'm looking at some Spellbinder chiffon cardstock and maybe some alabaster. For my leaves, I'm going to mix and match with mint and maybe some craft. So mint and craft for the leaves, and then the flower centers. But I think those colors will go really good with this pretty little frog. Okay, we're going to go ahead and quickly put together our blooms. For these alabaster or off-white flowers, all we do is take a dark center Then I add another dot of glue, and then we can add the chiffon center. I always say these look like Ritz crackers, and I just love them. Okay, and then this flower center, we're going to add some craft. Okay. And for these flowers, since we have a little bit of a gradient or an ombre on this flower, I thought we would bring in a little bit of ink for our chiffon, because these are layerable. And so I'm going to bring in my guava ink, and I'm going to add just a little bit at the very bottom of the front piece. Which would be this one. I might need to add a little bit of brown because it's almost like a fuchsia. Maybe I should have used like a rose color. But if I bring in a little bit of brown, it will tone it down. Let me go do that. Let me grab my brown brush, and I'll bring in some brown. Okay, let's bring in a little bit of cappuccino to warm that up a little bit so it's not so vivid. Kind of tones it down. There we go. I'm really happy with that. And then to put that flower together, we just add the little Ritz cracker. Hi, kitty cat. You don't ever come on camera. What are you doing? Hi, babe girl. What are you doing, honey? What you doing? You gonna say hello? We haven't had a kitty on camera in a while. I'm gonna take this flower center too and add a little glue. And then I'm going to directly add this piece that we just ink blended to the bottom here. Like this. And then we add a little bit of glue here. And then we layer these. So pretty. I forgot. The little blooms have been in Spellbinders shop for a while, but they still have them. It's like one of those mainstays. They're really pretty. Okay, so those are those flowers. And then I have a couple sets of our leaves with the green and the craft. Along with the single leaves, we'll separate those. And then we have the flower buds. I created one already, and hi. I have to die cut out one more of the stems, so I'll be right back. And maybe for this flower center, we'll switch this one out for a pink. Maybe we'll add a little more pink. We'll switch this one out. Yeah, and maybe we'll add a little bit. I'm going to add a little pink to this flower center too. And then a little bit of brown, just using the leftover ink. Yep, to tone it down a little bit. Okay, now for the flower. But now we have the little small tiny flowers that you just add little dots of glue to, and then you can layer these on those little dots. And that's all there is to that. And then I can put the rest of this away in the package for some more projects. Now I'm going to bring in I always like to do this, but I'm going to cut down a thin strip of cardstock. Now I want to build a little swag on this piece. For me, building it on a piece of cardstock is just easier. And then I'm going to bring in some small foam squares. So we'll start with this flower. And we'll add this here. We'll add another one. I always like to add the flowers first, and then we tuck the leaves in afterwards. Okay, and then we'll tuck some foliage. I'm almost done. I'm just going to add my last flower bud over here. Lovely. And I have this last leaf, and I have a little open spot on my little white cardstock. So I'm going to tuck this underneath here to kind of fill that in. And that's all there is to that. That's my little swag. I think it matches. Oops, we lost it. Better add a little more glue. And there we go. So that's my swag. I think it matches really good. I'm going to put these to the side, wipe off the glue from my work surface, and we're going to move to step 2. Okay, now for my home panel, we are going to do a little bit more die cutting with our fresh picked labels. Okay, we're going to create a frame. Now I want the frame to be this size, so I'm going to use this die, and then I'm going to skip one size smaller, and I'm going to create a frame with this, with some colored cardstock. And I'm going to use my Seaside. I think Seaside will match this beautifully. And then I actually want a mat to go on the inside of this frame. So I'm going to take one size smaller. Okay, and I'm going to, well, we can just use these two here. And I'm going to use some craft cardstock. And I'm going to cut out a frame here. That way we can mat this on here. And I think I may go one size larger. Maybe. Yeah, maybe one size larger with the craft too. And I'm kind of really close, huh? Okay, so a frame with Seaside, a smaller frame with a craft, and then a large background. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit of layering for our home panel. Okay. Okay, so this is going to go layered right on the top, centered, and we're going to create an inside mat. I think this looks really I love the look of this. I just think it looks really elegant. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this up with some foam tape, and we're going to put it right over our frog, and then this is going to go layered on the background. So it's going to look like this with a little bit of dimension. So we're just stacking layers. That's all there is to my home panel. Created a dimensional matted frame. I think it looks really pretty. We're going to go ahead and take our floral, and I'm going to add some glue to the very top here. And we're going to layer this here right on top of this frame. I think that looks really cute. Okay, now we're going to move along to step number 3 and create our greeting. I have this idea for my greeting. Okay, we're going to use the rub-on. Okay, but I want to use, I want the word day, since it's cursive or scripty, I want to pop that up and replace it. And you can do that with rub-ons. Okay, I'm just going to remove the release paper here. I'm going to flip it around and put the release paper underneath the day. Now I'm doing this because I want my greeting to be straight, and I don't trust myself on getting it straight as this. So, and then I'm going to layer this on my white cardstock, give it a press, and then I'll use my popsicle stick, and I will rub on the is and the ribbiting. And then I will do Hope You're on this side. And the day is on release paper, so I'm not worried about that. And then we can slowly lift it up and see how well of a job we did. Okay. Lovely. So now we have day on here, and I can remove this, and this is completely straight. And then I'll put day over on this cardstock. Give it a good press, and then I'm going to rub this off. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to use my paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim this into a strip, and then I will fussy cut around this word. So there's my Hope Your is ribbiting, and then I have day that I put a foam square behind, and we're just going to layer it where this is supposed to go. And there we go. I'm not sure where I want this, so I'm going to hold off on this. But now we're going to move on to step number 4 and create our background, which is going to be really easy. We're going to do some ink blending directly on the front of our card base. Okay, I picked out 2 colors of ink. I have my Simon Says Stamp Seafoam, and then I also have my Simon Says Stamp Cabbage. Okay, I'm going to open my card base up, and then I'm going to use Seafoam at the very bottom. Lovely. I'm going to keep it, and then right over the top of this, I'm going to add my cabbage. And I'm just going to go halfway up to the middle. And I think that looks lovely. Okay, and that's all I am doing for my backgrounds. It's a pretty simple background, and it looks like I need to trim a little bit off of my card base. So let's bring in the paper trimmer. Now I'm going to add glue behind my home panel here. And we're going to layer this here in the center. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the left and to the right of this greeting here. And I'm going to place this right underneath my little froggy, kind of as a landing area for him. Lovely. Now we're going to move on to step number 5, which means it's time to embellish. I'm bringing in some of my Ranger liquid pearls, and I'm going to add some pearls to the smaller flowers. If you have adhesive pearls, you could use those. And I think I'm going to just add one big one in this flower center. And then another smaller one in this flower center. I'm going to tap it so it kind of flattens. And then I'm also going to bring in a little bit of sparkle with diamond stickles. So no gems today. And I'm going to go over the mint leaves with my diamond stickles. I don't know if you can see that sparkle or not. I think I'm going to bring in my corner rounder, and we're going to round both of the bottom corners. Yeah, I think that will look nice. I've been on a corner rounding kick lately, and I just like the way that looks. That finishes off my card project for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.